And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Oh,
I mean, we
Hello,
had an
hello.
intro. I'm not sure if the intro is actually happening, but we did have one.
did we have an intro? I don't know. Did Mike push the button for intro?
What, like music, you mean?
I meant,
I
welcome to
guess
listening
so.
to Paint Dry, the live stream.
Yeah. How about that? How about
Yeah,
Mike? You just start talking, and then we'll just figure out what's going on.
There we
we're
go.
live.
Oh,
I'm seeing sound levels. Sound check is okay.
All right.
I don't know what I'm
So
seeing.
let's get this officially started. Welcome to listening paint to paint. Welcome to listening to Paint Drive, the live stream. We don't get any do-overs here, but we're still a podcast about the art and hobby of miniature painting. I'm Mike.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Dev, and so far, this is flawless.
Just perfection at its finest. Thank you so much to anyone who joined us or who is listening to us after the fact. We really appreciate it. I'll apologize in advance for any technological hiccups. These will probably be my fault. So let's just get that out of the way. Additionally, this is the next logical step to grow the show. The audio podcast is a wonderful format. It's turned out to be better than we ever imagined. And thank you so much to our dedicated listeners. But this is kind of the next phase of where we're going.
So, Mike, what the heck are we doing here?
Thank you for asking, Dev. Well, in order to make it easier for us to put out more content and me to not, like, you could see my stupid hand gestures, we figured what we would do is a weekly show, 30 to 60 minutes, pick a topic, and then record it and also put it out on the podcast feed as well. This way, we're giving our amazing listeners regular content and hopefully growing the show.
And you said you want to do this once a week.
That's what we discussed about offline on our podcast meeting.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what you thought. I don't know. I must have been drinking.
So,
Again,
what's happening to the normal podcast and the interviews?
we're going to continue to push out interviews in the regular podcast feed. That's not going to change. We're going to try to be more regular with them. We do have a few that are sitting and holding right now that hopefully will be published soon. But at some point, we hope to bring in guests into the live stream. But once that's going to happen after we get our footing, we get some watchers and things along those lines. But I don't want to bring people into a space where it's just us chatting. We could do that just as easily over an audio format. But
And the nice thing about that
that's kind
is
of
we can get the audience to ask questions of the guests as well, which could be kind of cool.
that would be amazing. I
Right.
would love to have that interaction and provide another opportunity for artists that we talk to interact with other artists that are learning and trying to grow.
How can we see what people are chatting? Is someone monitoring that?
I am,
There,
yes. So
Oh, okay.
part of the software I'm using here that I am executing on flawlessly has a chat segment as well, so I can monitor the chat
Oh,
as well
okay.
as everything else. So
I guess that's the part of us trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
although
there's a delay on the live stream too.
yes, there
Well, don't listen
absolutely
to the
is.
live.
Yeah. So that is
Um,
pretty normal for live streaming. Partly it's just the latency of the signal transmissions. Partly it's also like a little bit of stuff that the hosts, YouTube in this case, do in the back end to kind of catch anything that they, if anything violates whatever, then they need to catch it and put
Also, if I start
sensor
dancing
in.
and Mike is taking off his shirt, then they're gonna like put
Uh,
little squares over us,
yeah,
or just turn us off.
They'll probably just turn us off, so let's not try that.
Yeah. Let me
I
tell
mean,
you,
I know
they
I'd
won't be
turn us
silly
off
people
if that was
turned off.
happening.
So it makes me wonder. So is it AI that would do that, or is there people like actually trying to look through us or look at us?
I think it's AI, but I do not know for sure.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Mike, can you
So,
just
anyways,
Yeah, go for it, Mike.
Go.
Can I do what?
Talk.
Yeah, I don't mind talking. You guys know me. I don't shut up. Especially if this was this would be better if it was like 12 o'clock in a hotel room and I kept going till 3, talking blah 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 blah.
You could do that if you want to. You can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've got like a whole range of things that we've been kind of planning out for this. You know, even before we get guests on, we're going to break out a few maybe more, you know, interesting topics, maybe possibly a little bit of the more sensationalist clickbaity topics that we think are relevant, and just, you know, explore a few different
We
ideas.
can talk politics. Let's talk about the election that's coming up. You want to make it spicy?
I mean, maybe let's stay somewhat on topic, right? But there's plenty of spicy topics
okay.
in the hobby space.
Oh, the hobby space. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Actually, we're not.
We're
No,
gonna keep
actually,
this
we're
to the
not.
hobby space. Yeah.
We'll keep away from the hot topics in the hobby space right now. There's enough of that going on.
I think
Yeah,
so.
definitely. Definitely. But I think one of the things like the goal is to be a little bit of a shorter format. Just pick one main topic and kind of, I know we could all blabber and go on tangents and so, but the goal is to try to keep it 30 minutes, between 30 minutes and an hour, so that way we're not killing everybody with what's going on. I was going to throw out a topic for tonight to see what y'all thought about this. It's not in the script or anything, so it's totally free thoughts and things along those lines. So here's the question: Steamforge Games has relaunched P3 Paints. What you doing about it? Are you going to do the Kickstarter? I know, Dan, you love P3 Paints. I haven't had great experiences with them, but I guess
no,
so.
I've had wonderful experiences with them. I like the original formula. I am just staying away from all the advertisements for the new P3 because I just don't know what to think, and I already have 5 other paint sets laying around that I don't use. I got to reel in those bills, man. I got kids going to college. You do too.
Yep.
So I haven't really looked at it a whole lot. I think I saw somewhere where they did a reformulation of their paints. I just don't know. I love them. I think they're one of my favorite ones, but I don't talk about them a whole lot because it's nearly impossible to find them. But when I do find them, I do buy a couple of those paints.
Yes.
When I read in the Kickstarter, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Dad, but it's one point Dan's talking about is the reformulation. From what I understand, there were some problematic colors, and those were the ones that they were reformulating. That other ones that are in there were in the main line that people loved. They weren't reformulating those.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
So I the Steamforge Games guys jumped on a live, not a live stream, but a pre-recorded podcast with the Painting Phase folks. And honestly, that's really the only place that I've seen any substantial content about the relaunch of these. But the impression I got from that was all of the paints are somewhat reformulated, right? Because ultimately the original P3 paints don't really compare to modern miniature paints, right? They tend to be a lot more translucent. That, you know, you think about like those old school Citadel paints or the Coat d'Arms paints, and which are the Coat d'Arms paints, right? And people talk about Coat d'Arms paints having terrible coverage. Well, it's because it's the exact same formula as old school Citadel paints. I think the same would be true of P3 paints if you took the old P3 paints and compared them to modern paint lines. So I think they have done a little bit of reformulation in that regard, but they've been very, very clear that they've been focused on keeping colors consistent, finishes consistent, the paint behaviors, especially when it comes to things like thinning and wet blending, which wet blending is really one of the things that those P3 paints were known for. So they've been very mindful of those things. So, you know, I'm hopeful it's an upgrade. I did like the original P3 paints, but I think there is going to be maybe a little bit of change there. I think my real question is, I mean, I'm not backing the Kickstarter for no other reason than I just don't back Kickstarters at this point. I think I'd be more interested in it than a lot of the paint lines that I've seen coming out recently. But do we really need another line of paints?
I don't know. I probably
Right,
would
there-
buy a couple just to give them a try and see what how they are and how they act. I mean, there are definitely specific colors that are my favorite, so I will pick those up if I see them somewhere. But again, I have to, evaluate if we're going to be getting them in our stores, our local stores or not, or if it's going to be something they're going to keep a little bit more in the mail order side. How that's going to end up working out. Maybe we just have to go to convention and try them out. I don't know if they'll be at Adepticon or
Yeah.
when they even plan on having having these paints ready to go.
And they are UK based now, right? They're no longer
Oh,
East Coast based,
okay.
right? Steamforge Games is a UK based company, so distribution. Hopefully, they're gonna still leverage those networks that were established by Privateer Press, but distribution could be a little more tricky based on that. I don't know. We'll see. But unlike you, I
Well, they
think
probably have to follow.
if I see them in stores, I'll
No, go
pick
ahead.
up a couple. Thermal Black, Cador Red, like a couple of the colors that I used to love, like the vibrancy of that red was great, and other colors do it now as well. But Thermal Black was my original base room go-to color. I was kind of sad when I ran out of that eventually. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I had the red and I liked it. I liked that red, but I got to tell you, the Monument Bright Pyro Red takes that place. You know what I mean? Like, there's not it takes that place really well. So, um,
True.
not to hawk Monument Paints or anything, but there are substitutes out there for every company.
I think
So
there's enough.
there's lies the question, right? When are too many paints? When are all these paint lines too many? When have we reached market saturation? You know what I mean?
I think we reached that already, personally. But then again, I don't think I need a whole lot. I mean, but we haven't even touched on the regular craft paint market, which a lot of painters use too.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very niche. I don't know. For me, I think there's just too much. I would have to try them out to see if they're worthy of my dry paintbrush. Because I've only used it like once in the last 6 months. Um, but yeah, I have to see if it's something that I can work with and if it's a color that I really like. And it'll just go into my pile of other incomplete paint sets that I have and I use sometimes. Maybe there's just that one special magical color that I just can't find anywhere else.
It's kind of funny that you talk about paint sets as well, because I don't know how the P3 Kickstarter is structured. As I said, I've not looked at it, but it feels like more and more there's this drive to like buy the entire line as a set, and
Mhm.
I went hard into that for a little while. I remember the screw top Games Workshop paint lids that they had. Those hard plastic screw top lids that they had that dried out instantly. I bought the entire line of those, which was possibly one of the more expensive mistakes in my life. And I kind of did it again with scale color. I ended up doing it again with Monument, although not really intentionally. So there, I feel like I'm moving back away from that. I'm just cherry picking colors here and there. If I hear a particular color on a particular line being really good, I might pick it up, or I might pick up a couple colors I need in a line that I've not tried before. And just sticking with the hodgepodge that I did as a kid, because that's just too many. I do not the scale color paints now. They're fine, but they don't really work for my painting style. I've got a full range of the OG scale color, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. Like, I didn't need to
Yeah.
buy this entire line.
And I just want to piggyback on that also. I started with cherry picking the colors that I wanted. I mean, first the only thing I had was we had Vallejo whenever I could find them, and those were usually going to be in craft shops because we didn't have that many hobby shops in our area, and we had GW paints, Sol Citadel. So yeah, I would focus on that, but as I started to branch out, I would cherry pick which colors I wanted. And as more and more paint colors came online, and I had the the means to purchase a full set,
Yeah.
then I would I would do that because, being complete, I know how those paints all act. Then I might as well have the whole set of it. But then I'm also starting to realize I don't use half of those colors. My reds and my blues don't act the same way, even if I am purchasing from the same manufacturer. So maybe I need to go back to cherry picking, because I'm noticing that I will use a different manufacturer for my base coat versus my glazes. And it's not until I started to get more advanced and understand how I like to paint that I'm starting to find that I don't want to have full sets of paint. Yes, it's great. It looks great on my wall or in my boxes that I throw them into, but am I really going to use all of them? Probably not.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. I think the two lines of paints where I regularly use all of them, or have cycled through all of them pretty comfortably. The Citadel contrast line, I went all in on that when it came out. I don't regret that. I don't tend to use them for display painting, but if I'm like just banging out models like I am at the moment for an RPG that I'm going to do, those are the paints that hit the table, and I'll use pretty much every one because it's not a huge line of paints really. And the other one, for kind of the same reason, Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. It's not a huge line. I don't get all of the signature series. I don't feel like I need them. I've ended up with a few here and there, but I don't go out to buy them. And that core set of Monument Hobbies paints, with a little bit of mixing, especially if you're going display painting, it's all I feel I need.
That's a really funny thing. I was having a conversation with some folks, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and we were talking about very niche, high quality paints. And there aren't a whole lot in a set. There's 10, maybe 15 paints in a set. Because once you get to a certain level, you can't just find the color you want. You have to mix it. And you might as well just do it with pure pigments and a very small amount of, those three primary colors, and work from there, which means you don't need to buy a case of 275 different colors. You buy your primaries black and white, and you just make your own colors. And that's where someday I will be there if I continue and when I continue to paint. But I think you hit those little blocks.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, well, or another phase. Okay, now I'm in a phase where I need to just create the color I'm looking for, because I've already spent $150 trying to find a perfect blue. I can't find it. I might as well just mix the shit together and just say, hey, I'm done with it, and save myself some money and go from there.
Yeah, I think the only time I'd say I wouldn't agree with that is army painting, right? Like for army painting, for your primary army colors in particular, right? Like your ultramarine blue for your space marines or whatever it is. There I want a pre-mixed paint so that I'm not having to paint match between sessions, between batches, between meta moves and rewrites, and having to paint new units, etc., etc. For the sake of that, I would still use, just for that core mid-tone, I'd use something pre-mixed, and then I'd adjust that again with that primary set.
That was something that I was always taught when I was much more inexperienced, I guess, is you can pick offsetting colors or mix a couple colors together when you're doing like your centerpiece of your army. Yeah. But the rest of your army should be something that you can buy so you can replicate that color. And so you don't have to mix batches of it and everything. So I totally agree. I'm just thinking more of like the display side.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be a display painter or a competition painter, if I need that perfect blue or that perfect green, I might as well just make it.
Yeah, 100%. We're getting a little activity in the chat here. Sneaky Pete's Hobby Hideaway says, "Hey Mike, we missed you at ReaperCon this year." So true. I really missed you, buddy. But hope things are going good.
I found Pete. We're your friends, man. It's so good to see you in here, Pete. Yeah, I missed being at ReaperCon. Having to take the daughter to college that weekend kind of put a crimp on convention life. But family first. But Pete, thank you so much for hopping in, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the support. As you can see, the chat is just we're hopping away here, with all the people in the chat.
And there was one for Dan, but Dan's now vanished. So I'm gonna hold that one.
What was? Oh, somebody else is watching.
Yeah, the armed painter just put in a comment for Dan, so I'll hold on that one for now.
Oh, Justin, welcome, Justin. Isn't that Justin?
I can never remember
No.
aliases with real names.
Dan,
Painter,
you got a
let us
question
know.
from the armed painter.
Oh, the armed painter says, Dan, you don't give yourself enough credit, my dude. Your minis always look dope. So, you have a fan out there. You're also on mute.
And you're muted, Dan. You're muted, Dan.
I think he knows that. There we
Oh,
go.
I just like read was it Peace and War, and you guys missed it.
Yeah, man. Thank goodness.
Thanks, Justin. What I did say when someone put me on mute was I would probably paint a little better if someone would take their time and help me paint my mechs. But it's all good. So I want to go off the camera again.
I gave you an
so that
entire day class on that, man.
I would just take like an entire day just to look at figures and not even paint them. So yes, I was saying before, today's show is sponsored by Sonic, and I need to go put it in the freezer because it's melting. Because apparently it doesn't look very appealing for me to eat while you guys are talking. Because now I'm on camera. Before I would just eat. But,
yeah, I mean, we're having to behave ourselves. That's the downside of having the visual element, right? Like, I'm not just sat here half paying attention and painting figures like I normally would be on a podcast recording.
Oh right, and I have one sitting here that I'm working on, and I'm like I've had to smack my hand like 3 times. I keep picking up a paintbrush, and I'm like, well, I can work on that while Dev's talking,
So what is it you're painting, man?
I am working on finishing Arston. It's Arston Whitebeard. It's a Dark Sword mini from the Game of Thrones line.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know. I'm working the main part. I'm working. So, Arston, I don't know like how Game of Thrones people are on the chat. So, the character in the TV show is Barristan Selmy, and when he gets kicked out of the Kingsguard and goes to find Daenerys, in the books he goes undercover as Arston Whitebeard, and this is the mini for him undercover looking for Daenerys. But I'm working on. I don't know if anybody will be able to see. I'm working on freehand.
Freehanding. Very nice.
Yeah, the Selmy coat of arms, because their family they run Harvest Hall, or that's their main thing. Their coat of arms is 3 stalks of wheat, and I have to admit that it actually is turning out way better than I imagined it would, and it is all about just dabs and corrections, like literally. Like making the wheat is kind of like, an angular dab this way, this way, this way, this way, then going in with the brown and correcting it, and then going, just kind of keep reshaping it. And it's surprisingly cathartic. Really kind of enjoyed it. And I also I'm working on a key line around his cloak. That I'm sure you're not going to be able to see. The little brown.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a little brown trim on it.
Yep.
And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to try to put stalks of wheat in the corner of the cape too, or if that's just too much.
I don't know if you've got the painting DVD, PK Asher's painting DVD from Dark Sword, but that is one of the figures that PK was painting on that series.
Okay, so I haven't, but I've seen. I went to the Dark Sword website, and PK's work is there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, PK did the one with the sword. He comes with an option of a sword hand.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just didn't want to play with non-metallic metals or metals in this. I just wanted to work on. I'm really studying on how to paint clothing and like cloaks and stuff, and making sure a lot of mistakes that I make are the same that people make. That um, you have these beautiful bright folds and then these dark shadows that almost wash out the base color of what it actually is. So I've been trying to work on better light placement in cloaks, and so like Dan and I took a class 2 years from ago at Adepticon by Riccardo Agostini, and he talked about how light hits on a cape, and a lot of times inside the fold there's a place where light is going to hit,
Mm-hmm.
and like painting in those areas, and some of it's not as intuitive, so you kind of have to force yourself. I wish when I finish him and post pictures on Instagram, I'll kind of show it more, but like if you just leave the folds dark, you lose kind of the character of the color, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
A character, the hue, and also dulls down, like, uh, like his main chest area is probably one of the best I've painted, and I feel like it's a lot more vibrant than other things, because I've really worked on where the shadows go, and I'm going back and reestablishing midtones and stuff. So it's been I've spent about 8 hours on him, and I've had a great time doing it. I just got to figure out the damn base for it now, because he's almost done. Um, I probably maybe only have another hour or two worth of work left on him, so that's why I'm kind of like, I want to paint, I want to paint, I want to paint.
Nice.
But I'm also in the midst of doing 60 pirates for a
Bl-
store.
oh,
Um,
okay. Blood and Plunder demo, or nice.
yeah, I'm doing this demo setup. I've done the galleon
Mm-hmm.
is done. Big resin galleon. I have the sixth rate frigate is about 95% done. I need to finish the masts and do the rigging, but the painting is done on the body of it. And then about 75% of the pirates are done. And that actually was a bit of a fun challenge because he wants to go somewhat historically accurate. And so during that time period, the British, French, all those navies didn't really have uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really hard to tell the difference between a pirate and a sail and a naval officer
Yeah.
because they didn't have uniforms then. And so it's literally I've been kind of he's like no two guys should be 100% matching. There's going to be of course overlap, but they each have every single one of them has a neckerchief, and so he wanted that red to unify that's their one unifying factor. But literally that's just been slapping colors on because he's like it doesn't matter. So I'm like hell yeah, this one's got dark sea blue pants, this one's got yellow pants, this one's got purple pants, doesn't matter because it's just kind of whatever's on the palette at the moment. I pick up a pirate, that's what color they go.
Yeah.
um
I actually sometimes I find it really exhausting painting things like that which don't have a consistent uniform because I'm like trying to mix and match the colors, and the only way I can do it is basically be like, okay, this set of five are going to have this color shirt, this set of five are going to have this color shirt, and then once I've done all the shirts, mix up those groups and be like, this set of five is going to have this color pants, this set of five is going to have this color pants, this set of five is going. So eventually I end up with a mix and match look, but I still have to structure it because of my OCD. I need the structure there. I can't just like be thinking for each and every one. Well, he's got a blue shirt already. So I mean, this guy's already got. So maybe I should do. It just takes forever. I have to structure it and patch it out. But for me, at the moment, I'm working on this. I still don't know what these things are called, but this one.
is that a rhino?
No, it's one of the new like hovercraft things that that they've started doing for the intercessors. It's kind of armed up the wazoo. It has way too many different like weapons options, so I had to like magnetize everything and all of that lot. But this is a piece for the Nova Open Charitable Foundation they are going to be doing a raffle of these. I'm actually not entirely sure I was meant to have spoiled that yet, but there is going to be a raffle for at least that tank and maybe some other stuff. Who knows? Coming up. So I've just got to put an enamel wash on it, which I just got. It is... Oh, wow. It really does not want to... All right. Censorship on the thing. It's AKA NATO wash. Which I have never done enamel washing. It kind of scares me. I don't want to wipe off the paintwork. It took hours to get that thing looking the way it does. But I got to man up and do it. So that's probably a project for this weekend. There's likely to be swearing involved, I expect. Yeah.
It's painting. Cussing is natural.
Yeah, you know, especially when it's not something you've done before and you're not super confident on it. So I'm probably going to try and find some tutorials. I really hate white space.
We have 3 people viewing. Can you see them? Can you see their names?
Well, we've got Mr. Dan Osborne.
What? I was just about to say, if you want to know how to use the streaking grime and stuff, talk to Dan.
You know what? That's a really good point. Dan, I will hit you up after this and I will demand instructions. Cause
there's no other better Dan in the world to help you with that than Dano.
That is a fair point.
My roomie.
Yeah, that's right. We got to talk about Nova and Reapercon at some point, but are we going to save those for future
at
weeks?
some point.
Maybe tune back in and you'll find out more.
Right. Exactly. And welcome Dan. Who else is in there? We had Sneaky Pete at one point, the arm painter.
Yeah, I think there may be someone else as well. Not that they've posted in chat. I can only see the folks in chat. So if you want recognition, then throw your name up in chat. And thanks, Dan.
It's me.
Knew you come through. It's you. Just pumping our numbers there, man. Pumping our numbers.
Well, no, I was hoping to be able to see the chat, but I can't see. It won't let me see the chat.
You're doing it wrong. Are you signed in as you, or are you signed in as the account?
No, I was using a different phone. I wasn't using the Listening in a Paint Dry account.
We'll have to troubleshoot that for next time. It would be.
Well, I guess we need to keep on talking since we're going to bore these guys. They'll leave us.
Yep. So hey,
that's a
the
large
last
percentage of our listeners.
Right.
Dan, what are you working on, Dan?
Sonic ice cream. I think.
Well, no, not any longer. I had to put that in the freezer since it was melting because I had to talk so much. I am actually trying to get some figures put together so that I can get ready for Southern Assault 4 in North Carolina in November. Nice. It's going to be the largest BattleTech tournament in the world. I think there's like 130 something people.
Whoa,
pretty effing big. Yeah, it's large. I think we're taking up like a whole like school gymnasium. It's gonna be pretty cool. So I think there's some other things going on, but right now I am just trying to formulate how I'm gonna paint my figures. Since I'm doing a gray army, I could probably just get away with just a base coat of matte sealant and be good to go.
Primer and then enamel wash, man.
I don't even need to put primer on. I think it's a perfect color gray right now. I'll just so I got to work on that. And since somehow I've been coaxed into going to Adepticon, which every day I still feel like I'm probably going to make that trip. I need to put something together for the Golden Demon. So it'd be another like 50-year-old figure or something just to throw it in there just for shits and giggles.
I'll look through my stuff and see if I have something you want to.
No,
paint.
I think I have most of your stuff already, Mike. So
you do. You do. I'm still cleaning up and finding old metal miniatures that I'm like, damn.
I think I'm gonna do another like Eldar of some sort because I have some first edition ones of those. So I
found the Harlequins, the original Harlequins.
Oh, really? Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. And then I also found the Mordian. I have the Mordian Iron Guard. I found them.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Those are the guys in the fancy dress uniforms.
I have
You can get pretty penny on those, man.
I have a whole army of those already painted, and I do not
Nice.
know what to do with them. I got them.
Sell 'em.
I got them in payment for a commission job that I did a while back, and I'm like,
Oh, that's pretty
I don't know
cool.
what to do. Like it's a lot. Like it's battalions worth. It's like a ton of figures, and I'm like, gotta figure it out.
Well, it's a ton of figures, but there aren't many variations of those figures.
That is very true. That is very true. Especially when you start looking at the heavy weapon teams, it's like, yeah, no, that's just one dude sitting on his butt, like pretending to hold something. A lot of
Yep.
times, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then throw in also the same things with the original Adeptus Arboretus, the Arbitrators. I found
yeah.
I have those too, and yeah, I had I had 2 full 10-man squads of them, and including the original dog. I can't find the original dog right now, but I will. It's in somewhere in there. But yeah, they're pretty much 80% the same model. You have one random guy holding not a shotgun, and then the main guy who's just he's pointing like that.
Yeah. I did not
He's
even
looking straight ahead and pointing a different direction. It doesn't make any sense. But
I did not realize they
know.
had a dog with that set. It was the combat shotguns or the exact same pose, but it happens to be a grenade launcher or the commander. That was it.
Yeah, there was one. There was a dog and a handler. Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Nice. I wish I got those. I had the others. I had like a 5-man squad of the other ones. I think I used to use it in
Right,
Necromunda.
with the shotgun, 3 shotguns, the grenade guy, and then the Justicar or whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Adjudicator. I don't know what the hell they are, but yeah, I'm finding. I found another metal dreadnought. Like, my God, how many of these things did I have?
Man, I couldn't afford those when I was a kid. I was all on the card stock that you got in second edition, the little card killer can and the card dreadnought.
Those were awesome. I think I still have a lot of that. I found a bag of the punched out terrain from second edition, that cardboard foldy stuff. Yeah, I'm like, how is this so bent and warped? I never used it. It like literally just got pulled out and put in it's probably in the same Ziploc bag from 30 years ago. And maybe even longer than it's probably longer than 30 years ago. Let's not talk about that, I guess.
Speaking of classic terrain, I did pick up the re-release stuff of Warhammer Old World, the buildings. I got 2 copies of the Fortified Manor, and I got one of the Sigmarite Chapel. I've kind of been working on assembling those. I haven't started putting any paint on them yet, but figured they'd make for some good Relic Blade terrain. I still think those are the best terrain sets that Games Workshop's ever put out. Super simple, comes with a bunch of fencing and stuff. They re-released it at I think a really decent price. Like the Fortified Manor is $90, and you get 8 sprues or something, like full fences, and
That's awesome.
it's I'm really happy with it. I'm having fun assembling that stuff. It's a little rough to try and do seamless joins and stuff like that, but it's just terrain. It doesn't matter that much.
And what the great thing is too is that what I'm learning so I was in a funk for a while. Painting these big ass resin boats really kind of got me back into painting. They kept me painting, even though it wasn't thinking too much about it. Because I actually didn't even use my airbrush on them. I just used really big paintbrushes. It was actually faster than using. I am terrible with the airbrush as far as production goes.
We gotta fix this, man. We gotta fix this.
I think it's just a function of the airbrushes I have. I have everything I have is really super small needles, and so painting, I started painting the side of a ship with one of them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is taking forever to get a good coat on it. I
think you're just using the wrong kind of airbrush.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I probably am. But honestly, though, I mean, it was so fast painting, literally, because everything on the boats are straight lines. I could take a big flat brush and basically load it with paint and do kind of a whole portion of it in like 2 strokes, and it'd be. I'm like, okay, that's like spray paint almost. You know what I mean? It's almost like a spray can.
Well, I mean,
So
it is terrain, so I mean, we were always trained at GW. You know, you just use rollers and brushes when you're doing a terrain because it's not really, it's not really going to be that perfect unless you're using certain buildings and things. But for a boat,
right.
I could actually probably see that just getting a brown and putting it on the side and on a big brush and just slopping it on because you're not looking for the super details in there, and then I don't know, dip it or something just to get
Ooh, we're up
the
to 6
texture in there.
viewers. Woohoo!
Uh-oh. Oh, we're just getting ready to end too, so they're
We
gonna
are
lose out.
almost halfway to our actual, listener level.
There we
That's
go.
not
Oh,
bad
no.
for our first live stream.
Progress, man.
I
Progress.
mean,
Oh, so it'd be
that's
11
pretty damn
viewers,
good.
huh? So I guess we
So
got
if you're
everybody on board now.
if you're in the chat and we can give you a shout out, just it's in there. Let us know you're in there. Let Dev know so we can say
Yeah,
hi
because
to
we
you.
don't know who's on right now.
So
Dev won't let us look at the chat.
I know. I'm totally gatekeeping here, but Super Dan Osborne, vehemently disagrees with you, Mike. As do I. Airbrushing is always faster. But latest edition
Hot
is
take.
Generic Name, who seems to like us and has just subscribed. So thank you, Generic Name. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Cool.
But yeah, this is it. Anything else for anybody got to show off? I've got these are fucking gorgeous models. This is.
It's really funny when you try to show us that stuff, it just disappears.
I know. I'm trying
Right,
to.
because your background thing.
I know.
Here, I got a big picture. I got this too. Here's my figure. Isn't it great? I painted it all too.
So these models are 3D prints from Loot Studios. They're the Arkham Horror licensed figures. That's the Ghoul Priest, but I've got the full Feast of Ghouls set printed out for the RPG that I'm going to run this weekend. I just Zenithalled them, so I'm going to have to paint them all tomorrow, which is going to be a tight.
You said Feast of Ghouls, right?
Yep.
I thought you said Feast of Ghouls first. I was like, Feast of Ghouls?
Feast of
This is a family show, Jeff.
I was saying, man, we can have a really cool show about that. Feast of Ghouls. Oh yeah, that's our Halloween special this year, everybody.
The quality of design is
so
insane.
Speaking of,
they are gorgeous, and the prints are great
go ahead.
as well. A friend of mine printed them on a 12K printer. Came off of the supports, super easy, really really nice. So, so Sneaky Pete is asking if these streams are going to be scheduled, and the answer is yes. They are going to be every Thursday, with or without Dan, at 6 p.m. Pacific, my time, 9 p.m. Eastern, Mike and Dan's time. So, and if you're somewhere in between, add or subtract accordingly.
Right. Edit as per your time zone. And if you haven't already, we'd really appreciate a subscribe. Anything to help grow the channel. You could follow us on Instagram at Listening to Paint Dry. Obviously, our YouTube channel if you're out there. And we are on all major podcast platforms such as Audible, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. So we would any opportunity to share. The number one way podcasts grow is word of mouth. So anything y'all can do would be appreciated. Yeah, I mean, any parting thoughts, guys?
Where you're ending already?
Well, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we're an hour in.
Well, we haven't talked in a long time. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we haven't talked in a long time, so I guess it just feels like there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can go through, but we could probably leave that for the audio version of the podcast.
Well, I mean, we could already say next week why don't we do a review of ReaperCon next week, and then the week after that we'll do Nova Open live.
We can do that, or do you want to do the whole... Well, we don't have to do it as a podcast, I guess. We can go into
it's
more
up to you. You know what? We'll play it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
This is exactly how
You
dysfunctional
can't.
we are normally, guys. Just by the way, it takes a lot of editing to get us to
Now
sound
you get to
halfway
see it
decent on
because
the
we're actually
podcast.
talking about what's going on. Just Mike edits it all out.
And that's why it takes so long to get an episode out, because
Because squirrel.
usually I've muted Dan on purpose so that we can't hear Dan, and that I like to play with Dev's British accent, and so it takes a little while for all of that to happen. Um, you know, what did that guy at Adepticon call it? There was like that analyst at Adepticon called us something. I can't remember. It wasn't polite. Um, it was right before
Oh,
the Riz and Beast Award ceremony. Dumbass was in the sentence.
In which
I
yeah.
case,
can't.
we probably shouldn't be broadcasting it then.
But,
I don't think that person probably watches YouTube.
no.
All right. Well, thank you.
No, he called us a dumbass. But anyways, that's appropriate. Happy painting, everybody. Thank you guys for being on the chat with us. And I know we're ending up we haven't really fought out that hot topic of speed of the airbrush versus the paintbrush. I know I'm outnumbered here. It's probably user error on my part with the airbrush. I will freely admit that.
We
know.
have one special night that we get together, a bunch of really close friends, and we clean all the airbrushes. So that would help you with getting through your anxiety of cleaning your airbrush so it paints better.
Dan, do you actually use the airbrush between these sessions, or are you just cleaning an already clean airbrush?
Are you asking me what?
Yeah. Do you actually clean the airbrush between these sessions, or are you just cleaning it
Yes.
already? Okay.
Are you talking about no? Are you talking about Nova, or are you talking about like in real life?
Oh, it's the Nova airbrushes. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes, the Nova. Now my airbrushes, I clean them like between each color, which I know is a faux pas. I should not be doing that. I should make sure that there's some little mix, but I just make sure that I clean it all out because I'll forget, and then it turns into Mike's airbrush where it's all gunky and everything.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Or I'll use like mission paints and forget to use the right kind of freaking thinner, and it like turns into a big blob of plastic. Gosh, man.
And I walked away one time. I got a phone call right as I loaded paint in my airbrush, and I thought it would be quick. And then 3 hours later, I was like, "Oh crap! I think there's paint in my airbrush."
What a quick phone call with Mike.
No, not possible. Not happening. Not happening. I flap my gums.
All right, folks. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will be back again, same time-ish next week. Hopefully, we'll actually start on time next week, and we will actually have a topic. Oh, beautiful.
Same bad time, same bad channel, right?
There we go.
And remember the motto of the podcast is better, braver, happier painters. And we're so glad you're along with this new chapter in our journey. Bye-bye. Have a great night, everybody.